comes along and I enjoy doing it. Thank you so much for recording. I'm going to get it. Okay, so we're going to go in today. What we're looking at today is how you can use Teams. There's a particular report in there that's really good. It's been designed with teachers and programs in mind to help them meet their performance targets. And that's what we're going to be looking at. It's called the MSG report. And you guys got to look at MSG's last week with Glenda. So I am going to do a little review on that because I know we might have some people that didn't get to come. So anyhow, so here's our agenda today. And I always have this bar on the top I need to get rid of. Okay, so our agenda today, we're going to do introductions and then a review. We're going to do you and Teams, talking about how you use Teams. I don't know, I have a flashy, for some reason I have a very flashy, I apologize, that's not part of the presentation, the little flashiness. And then I have running the MSG report, analyzing it. That's the important part. Running a report is great, yeah, but it's analyzing. What does it tell you? And we're going to talk about considerations you need to think of when you're post-testing your students. Finally, we're going to do just a wrap up at the end with questions and answers. And I apologize with my mouse skills. I am still left-handed. You can't really see very well. I'm in a cast. I've had a cast on. It's my 5th week. I had some surgery before on my right hand. So I'm kind of a little bit shaky with my left hand on the mouse. So if I make mistakes, I apologize. I'm not good with my left hand. Okay, everyone, if you need to talk, we're small right now. If you can't hear me or can't see something, just let me know. You can turn on your mic. It's hard for me to present and look at the chat all at the same time. So go ahead and don't feel that you can turn on your mic, okay, if you need to talk with me. Okay, so we have little introductions. Now, I didn't get to meet you. Glenda got to meet you, and she put up the cutest little bit.ly Amarillo, okay? And I had already pulled this up on my screen here. I'm going to go share, my whole screen shared, so I'm just going to go to it right now so we can look at it. I put a little introduction for me, and I want you guys, if there's anybody new, and if I call your name, I want you to say hello because I want your video to pop up so I can see your face. So I put on the little blue one that I just highlighted. I said I'm often described as very enthusiastic. People always say they're so enthusiastic because I do. I get really excited about this stuff. I don't know why. I love assessment. My dissertation was about assessment. It just makes me excited for some reason. So I'm retired. I do part-time work now. And I saw other people who wrote on here. So if you're on the line, I know Michelle's on the line. Hi, Michelle. How about jumps into projects without planning? Who's Keegan? Is she on the line today? Is it Keegan or Kagan?
It's Keegan, and no, he's not here today.
Okay, Keegan is a he. Okay. How about, is it Jamie or Jaime?
Jaime.
Jaime, are you here? No. How about Rebecca?
No, she's not in the room either.
That's okay. Angela White?
Nope.
I like, she's not gonna, okay. Is it Michaela? I love that name. Michaela, is that how you say it?
Michaela, and she is.
Michaela.
Yeah, it's Michaela. Hey, sorry, my video,
Michaela.
I don't really do video today.
Hi, Michaela.
Thanks.
Michaela was the name of a boyfriend's mother, I think. And I just always love that name, but it's Michaela in English, but they said it like Michaela without the H. It was so pretty.
Yeah, and I had a Spanish speaking boyfriend, and his mom always called me Michaela.
Like Michelle, kind of. Michaela, it's pretty. How about Kristen? Is she here today for a pretty smile?
I'm here.
Okay, great. Hi. I love it. Okay, How about Barbara? Are you here, Barbara?
Barbara's not here, no.
Okay, and we've got, hi, Glenda. How many dogs do you have now? If she's not, she might have to leave if she's not on the line.
I have
Glenda
4.
How many?
4 dogs, 2,
Yeah.
these are all rescues, 4 dogs, 2 cats, and then we have about 4 cats at the office too.
Oh my goodness. You got
Outside,
surrounded
not
by
inside the office.
I know, but it's cold now. I had all my animals in last night. Okay, we've got Renessa. Renessa, is she here today?
She is not here today.
Okay, and we've got Christina Gonzalez.
Not here today.
Okay, and then we've got lovable but petty Eva. Data
Oh,
management.
Eva, no,
Eva?
Eva's not here.
Okay, now I see we have Martha that I hadn't met before. Who else have I not said their name? I know we have some folks that Martha, Renee, who else do we have? Renee,
I'm here.
Jackie,
I'm
Anna,
Anna. Yes. Hi.
Anna. Okay, well, if you guys would like, I don't know if you can get to that link. There was a little link on my, it's like it's called a short link. You are welcome to go ahead and just say something about you, but you can also go and follow up and post. If you want to type this in on your computer, you can post a little bit, a little sticky note about yourself, but just tell us a real brief thing about yourself, Renee. You unmute, Renee, just something quick and short. The microphone's kind of on the bottom of your screen. And you have to click on it.
No, it wasn't that. Sorry, I tried to click that link and it took me away and then I couldn't get back to my Zoom. I was
That
like,
happens, the multiple windows, right?
yes, it clicked it open and I was trying to get back to the Zoom. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm Renee. I've taught elementary school actually for 14
Mhm.
years and just started with AC in the fall. I missed the first class because I was teaching my other class for AC. So sorry about that. I'll get that sticky note thing added later.
Great, thank you.
Started this
Well,
week.
yeah, you're good at classroom management. You have to be to teach that long in elementary. I used to sub elementary, so yeah. How about Anna? Could you tell us a little bit about?
I taught also at AISD and
Mhm.
bilingual education,
Mhm.
middle school Spanish, and high school for the last
Oh.
8 years. And now I'm
Are you
here.
still teaching?
No, I'm
at
here
the-
as
no.
the new ESL coordinator here.
Oh, Anna, we were supposed to
Yes.
meet with you. I can't wait
Yes.
to meet you. Well, you've got all that bilingual. That's good. You have some of that background too, so you could help support the ESL students in the
For
program as
sure.
well.
Definitely.
And high school students are a lot like some of the skill levels are very similar to a lot of the students we have. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I also taught high school and junior high in my day. So
Oh, cool. Awesome.
English and ESL. Okay, how about Jackie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and I apologize. I am going to have to leave early because I have to pick up my granddaughter. So, but I'll stay as long as I can.
Okay.
I've taught ESL mostly internationally and with organizations here, Texas Refugee Service and Catholic Charities,
Oh,
working
okay.
with refugees. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Good organizations. Thank
very
you.
good, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. How about Martha?
Hi, I have a background as an English teacher, but I really like teaching ESL a lot more.
Oh, okay. Yep. ESL is, I love it because it's like people want to learn so badly. It's a very, it can be more gratifying in some ways than, though I enjoy teaching HSE as well, but it is, they both have their advantage, your challenges and their wonders, I guess, wonderful things. Okay, did we get, let me go be sure I'm getting everybody on. Kristen, how's Kristen today? Kristen,
Yes.
you were on the list, right?
Yes.
What was
Yes,
your
I was
little
on the list.
tagline?
I'm the one that smiles.
You're the smiley one. Thank you. Yeah, I said, oh no, I know that face. Okay, so we got
Yes.
Renee. Oh, well, thank you, Kristen. What was your role again?
I worked 2 years as a substitute instructor for Amarillo College, and then this is my 3rd year actually hired on as an instructor, so
Okay.
teaching ESL.
Oh, okay, great.
And also, I was up at like 3 in the morning working on our proxy report.
Oh my gosh, I know those reports. It's the reports that get you, right? Okay. And we got Michaela. I say it Michaela, I know I say it wrong.
Yeah, Michaela. So
Michaela.
I've been teaching ESL for a little over a year. I just turned in my last 2 PhD applications
Yay!
yesterday. So I'm looking to get a PhD in either art history or public history.
Okay, well, get ready to read and write because that's what it's
Yeah.
all, and talk, but it's a lot
Yeah.
of reading and writing.
Lots of reading, lots of writing.
Lots of writing. And I love doing the research and I just didn't like
Me too.
always writing it down, but I
Like
still love the research. By
that's
the
my
way, if
favorite thing
anybody
is
is anybody developmental education, have a background in that? No? Okay, just in case you do, that's what my doctorate's in, and we have a journal that I'm a co-editor of. It's we're going national. We're now collecting national articles. We started a couple of years ago, so, but that's kind of a cool thing that I love doing. So good luck with all your dissertation, your doctorate stuff. I am going to go ahead and go on now. I didn't miss anybody, did I?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, well, thank you all. Move your beautiful faces out of the way. Now, what I want to know now is we're going to do a little review on Kahoot, okay? And this is a review. Now, some of you weren't here last time, so you may not do that great, but that's okay because I'll go over the answers. And you guys know how to do Kahoot? Have you done it before?
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, well, what you do, you go to this website, or if you have a phone, you know how to do a QR code. You can put it in the screen and get the, do y'all see the QR code on your screen?
No.
And, or you can go to the actual, here, let me do duplicate slide. I'm sorry, I went away from it for just a second. So let me go back because I want to make sure I'm on it, okay? So if you're not there, just, I will wait for you. Oh, my husband's writing the name down, Michaela, for me, because he was like, you're saying it wrong. It's not Michaela, because he thinks it's Michaela, because he's from Mexico. So he's like, no, don't
That's
say it like that.
hilarious.
Okay, here it is. So you just go to the www.kahoot, Kahoot.it. You could do this on your phone. You can do it on the computer. It will take you away like from this presentation. So you might need to write down the number, but the game pin is 4777343. And as you find it, you will put your name and with your students or adults, if you ever want to do this with your student, it works pretty well with adult learners. They can do anonymous if they want. Sometimes it's better, like if it's like just to see what your class knows, so they don't feel like they're missing, you know, their names up there. We got anybody else coming in? Oh, Barbara, let me admit her. Oh, you got her? 2 people in the waiting list. We have, oh, I didn't even see, commit and admit. We got a couple more people that came in. Anybody, did everybody get in? Let's see, we're doing a
don't know how to
Kahoot
get
right
in.
now, Barbara and Mackenzie.
Hello.
Hi, hi. We're gonna go do a little Kahoot review. Can you see the screen right now? If you know, if you've done Kahoot, you go on your computer or on your phone and you can go to kahoot.it and it will ask you for a game pin. If you have a cell phone, you could use that QR code if you know how to take your camera and get those. Okay, here we got Krista. Great. Hi, Krista. We're gonna do, oh, somebody left my Kahoot. They were with me and they're gone now. I need some more people. We got Anna, Renee, Michaela. There you go. I see Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Come and join in. Now, if you're not in, I'm going to go ahead and start it in a little bit, but the really important part of this is that you participate and that you review some of the things you learned from Glenda the last time that we were here. I do have a chat message. Let me check. Okay. There you go. Anybody else? Chris? I'm going to give you about 1 more minute and then we'll start. Even if you're not able to join us in the actual game, you'll get to see the answers and we'll go through, we'll see how the class does as a whole, and then I'll go through the correct answers.
55. One more time. All right. Good. 45 or less. Good luck.
Oh, here's another person. We do have a lot of people coming in, so that's good.
And Denise,
Hello?
I can
Yes.
get that for you. You don't have to worry about the.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because it pops up on my screen. Okay, thanks. Okay, guys, I don't want to spend too much time, but I do want to do the review. So I'm going to go ahead and start. But if you ever want to use Kahoot, I do think it's a great tool to use in the classroom. But it's just a lot of businesses use it with their sessions as well. So this is the session 1 review. And what people are going to do is they're going to do their best to answer the questions. What does NRS stand for? And they look on their phone or they look on their computer and they have to click on the correct answer. They'll see a red triangle, they'll see a gold circle, a blue diamond, or a green square.
I was trying to be on top of things, and the bookstore is messing me up.
Okay, time went out. We've got 2 people that got that right. National reporting system. Everything we do, all of our accountability is national. Of course, Michelle got it. Thank you, Michelle. You're going to know all of these.
I didn't even answer.
I want your teachers to learn these too, though. What are those beginning and end dates, guys? What are the beginning and end dates of the AEL program year? These are really important because we need to know when we need our measurable skills gains to come in. Okay, July 1st to June 30th. That is correct right there. July 1st to June 30th. Okay, our next one. Oh, Chris got one there. Okay. How many direct class hours does a student need to be counted towards your program performance?
Oh,
Typically, students have to get this amount of hours before. That sure didn't stay long.
12.
The correct answer is not 10. What is the correct answer, guys?
12.
12, and everybody got, y'all know that one, and I obviously marked the incorrect answer. The answer, guys, 6 of you got 12. That's kind of a magic number for us. Once they have 12 hours, they're ours the whole year, whether or not they come and whether or not they post-test. Here's number 4. What does MSG stand for? Glenda went over with this with you last session. Very hard to think of plausible answers, by the way. I was really stretching here. 5 answers. Good. We got 5 people now. Measurable skills gain. Everybody got, well, most people got that one. Very good. Okay. Measurable skills gain. And some of you were not here. And if you weren't here for the last session, you probably are getting all these wrong because you're just guessing, which is fine. What does POP stand for? Now, we do talk about this. We're not going to spend any time really on this, but you need to know that it is not the same as the program year. It's a period of participation. Most people got that one. It's a period of participation, and it can span more than one program year, but program years are the most important thing we have to think about when we're doing measurable skills gains. Here's a true or false. Students need to achieve a measurable skills gain within a year. Students, are they supposed to achieve one within a program year? True or false? Oh, we got 7 people on. Yay. Okay. 8 people. Good. We got some more people on. That's great. Yes, they sure do. Within one program year, they need an MSG. That's a measurable skills gain, which usually is taking a post-test. That's the most common. The second most common is they get their high school equivalency. Now in Texas, the students are getting GEDs. Okay. Those are the 2 types that we see the most. Okay, I'm going to the next one. True or false? Students need to make a measurable skills gain within a POP. The hint is we just talked about a program year, and we know they're different. So.
No.
And it is false, guys. It's interesting. The measurable skills gains are within the program year. Within a POP, students need to make what's called exit outcomes. That's after they leave our program. We're looking at their employment earnings. We're looking if they go to post-secondary after they leave. We're looking at what they do after they participated in our program. And so that is not a measurable skills gain. It's called an outcome. And we are not going to talk a lot about those. They're a lot harder to control because they happen after the student leaves the program. Okay. We have more control over what happens during the program year when they're with us. Okay, now here's another question. Let's see. Oh, this is a multiple selection. If you were not here last time, this will just be such a good guessing game. MSGs, is taking a progress test a measurable skills gain, or do you need to gain one or more levels on a progress test to make a gain? How about if you exit the program and you enroll in post-secondary in the following year as opposed to the same year? Okay, the correct answers are, it has to be in the same program year and you have to show a gain on your progress test. That's two kinds of measurable skills gains that we can make, okay? Here's some more examples. Remember I told you, you can make progress on your test, but you also can do something with earning GEDs. Now, I have an answer that's really looking at academic things, and I threw something in just to bring it up. So an MSG, there's other kinds of MSGs that we don't deal with much unless we're working with students who are in training programs in IET. Michelle, I know, I don't think we're working with IET teachers. We're just with the HSE and the ESL. But those students can actually pass an industry exam. Our students in the HSE and the ESL and the ABE classes, they can earn a G or earn a high school diploma. Those are another ways that they can get it. So that's great if they get, because sometimes they don't want to come back and take the post test because they got their GED. That's what they came for. The last one. These have to do with students that are in IET programs. If students in an IET program, they can document work-related activities as well as report cards and transcripts. Okay, we got 3, okay? They actually, now, all 3 of those can be an IET student. And again, I don't know if we have any IET teachers, but that is a big part of your program. Michelle, how big is your IET program there?
So we usually serve 250. Our target is 250 IET students annually. It's pretty robust, I would say.
Yeah, that's big. They still pre-test, they post-test, and they can make gains on their post-test and pre-test. But because they're really getting them into working and they're taking training for work, there's other measures that they can use. Those students in your classes will just be doing pre and post tests, and they're getting their high school equivalency or their high school diploma. Has anyone ever gotten a high school diploma in yours? In your program from the school district?
They have not.
Yeah, I never had that happen when I was working, but it is possible, okay? And it
I've had
counts
3.
just, you had 3, okay.
I've had 3 so far, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. See, it's a little bit different. Usually they're younger students, right? That have just gotten out of school and they need to go back, and then they're post awarded it based on some of their test scores and things.
But it's actually not younger students. It's students that
It's
took
not.
the
Okay.
TOX test and failed. They had all their credits,
okay.
but they failed one of the TOX tests. So usually before they had to have graduated or not graduated, like I think 2009 or earlier.
Oh, so it's older students. Okay.
It's older students, yeah.
Okay. Well, I had a family member that had like 10 years where he could have gone back and done something. He chose not to, and that's okay. But I remember that was an option for him to pass that test or something and get that. Okay, so I'm going to go on just a real quick and review this measurable skills with you. Let me go ahead and set this to so it takes the whole slide again. And so these gains are right here. This is a really important chart for you because it tells you how they can make a measurable skill gain. They can, most of your students are going, and this all has to be within the same program year, okay? They can make they can gain on their test scores, which is most of you guys, that's what we're looking at. Or they can get a high school equivalency, a high school diploma, or after they exit your program, but within the same program year, they can actually go and get enroll in post-secondary. And it all has to be documented though. That's one of the important things. It does have to be documented. Any questions before I move on? That's kind of important info right there. If you weren't here last week, it's the first time you're hearing it. So Okay. And I know you guys probably know about pre and post testing. That's a big deal. But the big deal of that is all the stuff behind it. I want to talk something that's very rare, but it does happen. So if anybody knows this and they'll say, wait a minute, this student doesn't have 12 hours in this program year and I'm accountable for them. That happens only if a student has that period of participation that spans over the years. And let's say they're coming in June and then they come 2 days in July and they quit. And they only have like 6 hours. Even though that student has 6 hours in that year, because they're still in their period of participation, you are actually accountable for an outcome for that year. Luckily, this doesn't happen a lot because a lot of programs are pretty smart and they're like, we're gonna make sure that we finish with students in July and try not to be sure that they come enough hours the next year so we can get a gain for them. So just wanted to put that in there in case anybody's like, but why do I have this student that's only 4 hours and I'm have to be responsible for them? And it can happen. Now, this is my next question. I know Michelle says you guys do teams, you're in teams, you know how to use teams, you do teams training. I want to know how you use teams, not for data entry. I want to know how you use teams right now to increase program performance. Now, if you see here, I'm going to click and I'm going to go to something called Poll Everywhere, and you're going to see this right here, pollev.com/dguckert895. I prefer you to do it on your computer, though you can do it with text, but today I think we need to do it. If you're on your phone, just do it on the internet. This is going to open up the live Poll Everywhere, which I'll probably have to log in. Oh, here it is. Okay, so do you see here, right here? It's up on the screen. You go to Poll Everywhere, pollev.com/dguckert895, and then you just put your response in it and it's going to appear on my screen. This is a free program that's really nice to use for staff meetings, professional development, or in class. And it's nice that you can use text in case your students only have telephones in the class. They only have their smartphones. They could even not smartphones, they could text it. You can try the text. I just didn't test it myself, but I did test the pollev.com/dguckert895. So if anybody's daring today, go ahead and text 124045 to 37. You have to do 37607 is the message, and then you text that number, and then you write your response. And I know Glenda and Michelle use it for program performance. I don't know who else does. And when I say program performance, that could just be getting your post tests in your classroom and getting students to do their measurable skills gains. In other words, they're gaining in their levels in your classes, or they're taking their GED test and passing it. Does Teams help you with that? Do you use Teams to help you? I use Teams daily. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so this person who, and you're welcome to chime in, this person that just wrote, I think you work teaching, or do you advise? Are you an advisor mostly? Or do teachers also advise in your program?
I'm a career navigator. I just wrote it.
Okay, yeah. So career navigators, that's wonderful, because you want to make sure, because you want to you want to make sure that student, you're spending your hours on a student who's going to come, right? Who's going to be in the program. What were you going to say? I know it cut off. It probably wasn't letting you have enough characters.
Oh, I was just going to say, I just use it before I advise them to see, like, I look at their GED scores. I look at a lot of different things, and it's just one of the things kind of in my Rolodex of things that I check. because if they are under hours, that's gonna change kind of what they need to do next as far as
Mhm.
making sure they get those hours.
Right. Get their direct contact hours. Really good. Yeah. Teams has a lot of info in it. Of course, it's only as good as the data that gets put in and how fast it gets put in, right? So the advantage that the teachers are doing Teams data entry, there's a big advantage in that you know if the data is correct or not. That is a good advantage of it. I went to a program once and we were looking at last year's reports, and some of the teachers were quite upset because they're like, I know that student got a GED, but it's not in here. And I'm like, well, there's something in that particular program had to work on their data flow. They had some issues with that. So, but you're not going to have that issue. Did anybody else manage to get anything in there? Thank you. We have a small enough group. If it's difficult for you to get online and find that link, you could just share. Yeah.
Denise, I'm not sure why it's saying it's waiting. On my end, it's saying
Oh,
it's
really?
for you to start the activity.
Same here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why it should be activated, but let's see. Maybe that's the problem. Let me see if did it change anything when I
It
did
did.
that?
It says enter a response now.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I asked because it's like, Now I'm wondering, who was it who was it? The career navigator?
Yeah, I texted. That's
You
how
texted. That's
yeah,
why
it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for me, so I just texted. I thought it was
She's a problem solver. That's why she's a career navigator. She's helping students problem solve. Okay, great. And I made this really big, obviously, went with my mouse somehow. Yeah, here we go. I'll make it smaller so you can see it. Okay, so now maybe we'll see some responses. That's why I need y'all to chime in. Something is not right. I kind of want to know this info because I can kind of gear the rest of the presentation knowing how much y'all are in and what, in fact, if you use any particular reports, let me know. Or what sections of Teams do you use to help program performance? Barbara looks relaxed over there. Renee, were you able to get in now?
I did get it to appear, but I'm actually so new to this, I don't have an answer for you because.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Oh, but you got it to appear. How about Kristen?
Yes, I did to show the question finally.
Okay.
I was like Michelle, it said waiting and then it showed it, but I was like, I don't have a
I
good
don't know what to
answer
put. Okay,
I'm so
that's
new to
fine.
it.
Well, how about anybody want to chime? Oh,
I
here, I'm still exploring. Excellent. That is a great answer because Teams is big, but we're going to narrow it down today to basically 2 places you can go that I think will help you. One of them, I think you already go to probably classes. I think a lot of you enter data. You've probably been to classes before, but the main report we're going to talk about is the MSG report. And it's the report that I will recommend. Oh, somebody who's doing that. That must be data to check enrollments, data validation. Who does the data validation there? Could that be Michelle possibly? Okay, Anna, maybe, I don't know. Kristen,
I couldn't get in. This is Kristen. I couldn't get in, but I
Okay.
put my answer in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Can you read it off to me? That way I don't have to pull up another window.
Of course, I just use Teams to get a weekly MSG report. I review that report and I look to see if I have students that have enough hours that are ready to do the ACASIS test.
Perfect. That's exactly what to do. That is exactly what you want to do with the MSG report. So those of you who don't know how to use it or are still exploring, I know some of you are new hires and you may not have had Teams training to begin to. We're not going to really talk about how to use Teams or enter data, but I am going to show you this one report and hopefully you can at least start using that while you're waiting to get more training on how to get into Teams and enter data, which can be a little sticky, right? You got to enter data in the right order or you have issues with it. So we'll go back now to the PowerPoint. Okay, thank you guys. So this is the MSG management report. I've pulled it up here. I want to show you how you pull up reports. I cannot put live because I have ACC data. We're not supposed to share, of course. But when you go under reports, there'll be a drop-down menu. And it's one of your participant reports. It's under participant. And it will say MSG management report. And it pulls this up. Now, what's cool here is that, I'll show you here. We go to the next. Oh, I don't want to go. I'm not going to get into, I can't get into Teams because I'm not supposed to do that. Okay, here, of course, this is how you log in. If you've never logged into Teams, I don't want to show you. You see where it says report? And if you keep on going,
Denise, you're going, your voice is fading out.
let me see. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think I moved my laptop a little bit and it did that. Thank you. Well, if you go, like I said, go into participants, go to the very bottom and you will see the MSG report, MSG management report. Now, what's really nice, you can filter this. So you can, how many of you have more than one class? Anybody? Or you just have one class? If you can filter it by one class, I prefer to do this by class for myself, for my own class, if I'm a teacher. If you're doing a site, if you're looking at a site or you want to look at teachers overall, you might want all of their classes to see overall how they're doing, but it depends how you want to do it. But for a teacher, I would go in here and just pick on your class, which I did pick on a class here. And at the very bottom, I want to show you, you can run a detailed report or what's called a summary report. A summary report, it's nice, it's quick, it doesn't tell you detailed information. The other one called the extract report is super, super detailed. And it's like 15 pages telling you all the different variables on the report, but it's not that hairy. So if you look at this slide right here, if you'll see the report summary, it tells you the participant ID, name, the last MSG. See, they may have also gone up a level. But the most recent thing they did was high school equivalency. It tells you the date.
You're fading in and out.
Okay, thank you. It tells you the date. It also tells you if they're an IET student, and IET students have different types of MSGs that they earn. So it tells you a lot of information right there. However, it doesn't tell you how many hours, who was using it for hours, to look how many hours since the last test. As a teacher, that's what you want to know because you want to know when to post test them. So do you see the 3 white lines that are joined with green arrows? That is the top headers for the extract. This tells you, yes.
Do you mind? Yeah, no, I was going to ask you as far as the display. Do you mind going into presentation mode? Because right now the screen is a little small. Do you mind putting it into presentation mode for us?
It actually is, but let me go to duplicate slideshow instead of not. You also, by the way, so y'all know when you're in the, did you know you can, there is a way to go, if you go at the top bar, if you have a bar there, that you can make your screen 100% or 50%. Mine says like more, and I can go and change the screen size. I'm as big as I can get right now. Did that help any?
Yes,
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm on that. You know, when it pulls up, it can be just, yeah. So this is better. I'll keep it here. It keeps going back every time I go off of the presentation to the default. But this is great. Report. So the report extract, and I know they're very little, and I have a sample that I'm going to let you download. So you have a sample report. I want to show you. It tells you the hours since their last test, not in your class, but not even in your program, in the whole state. Because sometimes students come to you and they may have had other classes in other areas. They may be in other classes and different program providers in your area. You need to know not just what's in your class, but in the whole state to know if they're ready for another test. Hold on, sorry. So there's lots and lots of different, there we go. I'm sorry. When I put it in that mode, I'm not being able to send it forward. Hold on with my left hand here. I want to show you this one right here. See if I can go with this. No, enter doesn't do it. That is so weird. You know how usually enter will go to the next.
Can you use the forward arrow?
I am not getting it. That is so weird. Well, I'll just escape and go to the next one and put it back up. I'm so sorry. It's just not, it's when I put it in that mode, it's just, I don't know why. But let me know. I'm going to put it up and I'll put it up big again for you here. I know it's not big enough, but I do want to put this one really high for you. Really, really display settings. I'm going to go do duplicate slideshow again for you. Okay, here's an example of an actual report. You see this? It's a lot of information, but it's good information. And you know, when it's your students, it's a little easier to read. So I want you to kind of look at this report. I'm going to let you download this in a little bit and answer some questions about it. But do you see how it tells you if they've exited or not? You see the third column over? It tells you if they've exited. Now, if they've exited your program, are you still responsible for an MSG? Yes, you are, if they have 12 or more hours. That particular person, if you go over, way over, you'll see a 111.75. When you go up from the 111.75, do you see what it says in that column header? The hours elapsed since the last test. That student had 117 hours and never was tested before they got out of the program. They actually had started in the year before and they came through September and then they dropped out. So that particular program or teacher, whoever's responsible for doing post-testing, probably should have given them a test, right? It was September. Maybe they were just so busy with new students, they just overlooked it. But if they had pulled up this report, they would have known, oh, I better test that student before they disappear. Okay. It tells you, in fact, you'll see a lot of these folks. Now, look at the folks that have more information. That means they've got some information. If you look at the latest EFL earned, GR means grant recipient. So it tells you what grant recipient, and of course I have fake names in here, and the date. It tells you the date that they earned. It also tells you, look over here, HSE. HSEs, can they count as an MSG? Yes, they can. So these people have met their performance, and so have these folks. They met their performance.
I have a question. Just want to clarify. So as far as HSE, in order for them to get that gain, they have to pass all four of the GED. Is that correct?
They have to, yes, you're correct. They have to pass, it can just be one section, but it's whenever they actually, a lot of them come and, as you know, they already know, they already, a lot of folks already have, like they've taken, they just need, a lot of them only need, what do they usually need? Math, right? A lot of folks just need the math. And so they just come and they might just need to take one with you, but as soon as they get it, then you will be able to get them their MSG. Now, one of the things Glenda was noting is that one of the nice things is that once they get, it's not even working when I do that. Once they get their HSE, they don't actually have to take a post test. Let's say they haven't taken a post test yet. You don't have to have them take a post test, which is kind of nice, right? They may want to, especially if they're still working, but once a person gets a GED, they may be ready. They say, I want to go in the IET program. I want to go to college, or I just needed this for my job. And so they're going to say, I don't really want to take that post test. Well, if they already have an MSG and they don't take the post test, guess what? You don't get a negative, you get a positive. I'm going to talk now about analyzing the report. I want to tell you about what is expected. Now, Michelle, I know this is stuff, I don't know if you share this with your teachers already, but the targets are decided at the federal level for the state and negotiated. This little table down on the right, Texas needs to turn in 44.1% of the students getting a measurable skills gain. That's what Texas is as a whole is their performance target. Now the state put out sub-targets and they're by every single little level. Well, as a teacher, sometimes it's hard to keep track of every single level what your target is, but I just encourage you to look at your whole class. Okay, look at your class and see, are you near 44%? How's it going? Okay, now, should you be at 44% right now? What do you have to make to get your money by March? What percentage would you need? 60% of 44% or something like that, Michelle? I can't remember what the performance-based measure is.
It's 60%.
Yeah, so you guys need to get 60% of 44% by March to try to get in that extra money that comes with performance-based. And that's why y'all going to be doing a lot of post-testing. Good instruction is necessary, right? But if you don't post-test and document it correctly, the state, the federal government, it's like it didn't happen. The instruction didn't happen. You're a bad program. Well, you can be the excellent program, but it's all about getting this stuff in teams the way that it needs to be. And sometimes, and I was talking to Glenda, I said, sometimes it's just like a game you have to play, right? To get it in the right time, the right way. And Glenda was like, I said that to them the last time too. But I mean, it's just, if you do things correctly, the instruction, but get the data in, you will show that you are doing good instruction, which is what's so important to teaching. And I have been a teacher and that's my favorite thing to do. And I know that if somebody told me I was doing a bad job, I would be like, what? And it's just because it didn't get put in the system, what I was doing, or the student didn't get tested at the right time. So as teachers, if that's our responsibility, then we need to do it, okay? You know, so we've got to do that post-testing. And the students need to know, you know what I tell students? This program is not free. It's not a free program because you are required to attend class and you're required to post-test. That is what you have to pay to be in this program. I used to always tell them that because that we have to have them. Because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, I have people that come and then things come up, they stop coming, but you got to get them back. You said, no, you got to come back and post-test. You promised. I have to guilt people. Okay. Yes, I do. But you got to guilt them sometimes. Like, you know, it is a free program, right? So working on those targets. So who's going to show up on this special report? The students that are in the program year, okay, will show up on the report. If they need to get an MSG, if they don't, every student that the state says needs to get one is going to be on that report. If you have a student in your class that doesn't show on that report, why would they not show up on the report? Because remember, it's your class, not all classes. What if they just came into your class and they don't have their 12 hours yet? Or actually, they just have 0 hours. If they have 0 hours, even though they're in your class, somebody registered them, but they haven't been to your class yet, they're not going to show up. But even if they have 1 hour or more, they're going to show up on your report. Even if they're not that 12-hour kind of rule thing, you'll see them there, okay? It will tell you the kind of MSG, and the cool thing is, like I said, you could filter it by your program, which is one of the, came up finally, one of the benefits. I think what happened, Michelle, just so I'll tell you guys, if you ever do this, when I put pictures and when I had images, it's covering up where you have the little buttons to go forward. So now I know not to put images over those buttons. So I learned something here. Okay, so it will have all MSGs earned for that participant. It will tell you who needs one. You can track your own performance. One of the nice thing is that it's statewide. It shows for your class, but the total hours and whether they have an MSG is statewide. So you could get a student and they hardly even come to your class, and guess what? Maybe they already have an MSG. You don't even know it, and you just get free credit for that student, which has happened sometimes. Now, the opposite is you can get a student come to your class who doesn't have an MSG, and you need to get the MSG for that student. One of the things when you filter the class, remember, you're only going to see the class hours for your class, but you will get the information on the whole state, all of the hours they have. How many days since their last test? Not in your class, but in the whole state, in every class. But the hours will be for your class only as far as their participant. It's only going to show up your active students in your class. Okay. Now I have an activity I'd like us to do. And what I did is that I have I really don't recommend using the QR code because you'll be on your phone. It's really small. What I wanted to do, I have a tiny URL, and I'm going to also put this in the chat. I'm going to get this link and put it in the chat. So you guys can click and you will go to this activity. This activity, I can pull it up and we can kind of read through it together on the screen, but it's going to be something that you will be examining the participant report. An example, it's not a participant, it's called a measurable skills gain report, and it's the extract, it's the detail report. So if you go to https://tinyurl.com, and I believe it's Amarillo 2, because this is our second session together. Okay, if you click on that link, it will take you where you could go and see the activity. And I'm going to go ahead, I clicked on it myself. So go to your chat. And you could see here our activity. On this particular activity, one thing that I don't want to do, I don't want to do number 2 because number 2 actually did. I just want to start with number 1. We can do this together. I'd rather do it together. So some of you have no experience with you. Some of them you're really great. And I don't want to put you in breakout rooms where it's a lot of people who've never even looked at these reports before. So let's look at this. If we kind of look at this report over here, basically, if you look at the report here, you can see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students. But do you see how it really, I think it should be 9 students. You see how you have a 0 direct hours there? You see that? That student got assigned to your class, but they don't have any hours yet. Now I'm going to go down a page and we're going to look at this report. That student, that NS, remember I put NS because they're a new student. They're not going to be on this report. This report doesn't have as many people. So why would a student with 0 hours not show up? Y'all could figure that one out, right? How many hours? They have to have at least 1 hour. Yeah, they need at least 1 class. In your class, remember, they have to have 12 hours to be a participant, but they could be in somebody else's class. You don't know that. You only see the student has 0 hours in your class. You don't know what other classes they're in. So they need at least 1 hour in your class, right, to show up. So don't get like, if you say, why aren't they there? Because I'll be honest, I was looking at it. Why aren't they there? Why aren't they there? Oh yeah, because they're in my class. They could be in somebody else's class, moving classes, things like that. Maybe they already went to their IET training class. They're a student and they started there and they haven't been to your support class yet, but they still have their 12 hours. You just don't see them in your class yet. Okay. Now look here. I want to go here and I want you to look for the columns. Is this showing up big enough? I can make it a little bit bigger, not too much. Let me do 125. Let's see, what are the columns here that have information about the MSG? Here's all the testing information. You see it? One of the, okay, we have a term here called EFL. EFL stands for Educational Functioning Level. That's an NRS. I call it NRS level because we know NRS. So here it's telling you, if you look where my cursor is, the latest post-test, here's their pre-test. They took a post-test. This person didn't take a post-test. Look, no post-test. Okay. What was the latest educational level or NRS level? Date. Did they go up a level? No, because there's nothing there. If there's nothing in this box, they didn't gain a level. So this, and then look, this student has 111.75 hours, and it's been 301 days since they came to the program. If you look way at the beginning, you could see that this student is actually exited because it says Exeter flag. They're not coming to your class. They left in September, okay? But you are still responsible for that student to make an MSG gain. So don't get caught in next September with a student like this. I'm sure the teacher had no clue that the student had this many hours, right? If they didn't look at teams, how would they know the student was coming in with all those hours and needed to post-test? So pull this report up. Where's the first time we see a gain, a latest EFL earn date? Go ahead and circle this, or you probably just pull it up on the screen. This right here, the latest EFL earn date, that is an MSG, that is a measurable skills gain. The first student that has one, we can see that is student number 3. Look here. In November 2021, that student gained. What did they gain in? It says CASA's math, okay? This student met the performance. They are, so sorry. Brandon, get the dog. Hurry. My son is home, my dog's home, everybody's home. Okay. Now go down. Who is the next student? Who is the next student that got a gain on their post-test?
I think it's number 4.
Yeah, I'm going to put it bigger. Number 4, you see this? The next student is number 4. Which test was it? What subject area was it?
Reading.
Reading
CASA's
goals,
reading.
okay? CASA's reading goals. Okay, now we have another student. Look at the student here. This student took the math test. What happened? Did they make a gain? Intermediate low, intermediate low. Do you see here? There is no date. That means there is no gain. No gain, okay? So far we see 2 students, and this is actual data from a class that I was able to access. 2 students have shown gain by doing, what are these called? Post-tests, right? Now, what's another way a student can show a measurable skills gain other than taking a post-test?
Completing the high school equivalency.
Completing a high school equivalency. So what I'm going to do is move this over, and if I keep going, guess what we see over here? Do you see where it says HSE issue date or high school diploma achieved? There are 2 areas there, and we also see something called latest PSE. Now, what is PSE? Anybody? I was like, what is PSE? What is PSE, right? They just had to shorten it. And then Glenda goes, oh, it means post-secondary. I'm like, what? Okay, yeah. I don't know why. And I work with post-secondary all the time, reading it, but I never looked at the initials PSE. So remember, if they exited the program and started you have documentation that they enrolled in post-secondary classes, they would get a measurable skills gain. It's not that common, but it can happen, especially at a college, because you guys can track students when they go to your college, right? It's harder when like it's at a school district and they're going to another college. You don't know that they're going there as easily, okay?
Real quick,
So,
Dr.
yes.
Guckert, this one is
Uh-huh.
very specific though to not
Okay.
being able to provide, they have to have exited the program in
Yes.
90 days of exit. So this is one that our program, we really don't use that much because our students who actually transition into the college, we still support them in our IVEST model.
Right. You do, or IET and all that, right? That's what I'm saying. It's not very common. It doesn't happen very often, so it's a possibility, but you're not going to, like, you don't see it here. I don't see it very much. This is from ACC data, and it doesn't, they do the same thing because we have to do IET, right? So, and we support them in those models rather than just leaving them go on their way because you're at a college. Sometimes nonprofit people are in that boat where, you know, they don't have the good connections to support the student when they go into college. But you will get high school issue, and that is a data match that you guys get, right? And so you will know if they're getting a high school issue date in there. You see it? High school equivalency. Now, notice this person has a high school equivalency. How many people there? There's reading, math. So they put it on both lines there. There were 2 people. Notice this person. This person has a high school equivalency, 12, 16, 21. But do you notice that they also took a post-test? Man, they got a double whammy. They're actually a double MSG. Unfortunately, that doesn't count anything extra for us. It's just great for them, but it doesn't get us anything extra. But even though we always want to put that in there, we want to document it. We don't, just because they have an MSG already doesn't mean we don't put data in it. We always are going to document that regardless. So that was one of these other questions up here. So which student post-tested, which students post-tested and made an EFL or an NRS level gain? So we looked at those students. Remember, it was this student here. I think it was student 3 and student 4. I don't have the student. I'm trying to make this real big for you. So, okay. So student 3 and 4. Now, which is the one that did not make an educational gain? Do you remember? Look down here. This guy, student 5. How do we know they didn't make a gain? There's 2 clues. What are the 2 clues that they didn't make a gain? Here we go.
Well,
2
one of them
clues.
is no
gain in their EFL.
No gain in their EFL because we see ABE intermediate low, ABE intermediate low. They didn't gain. What else is missing over here? If they had made a gain, what is it going to tell us? A date. There is no date. There's no date. And let's double check. If you double check, I think I just went off the page. I had it so big that I went off the page. Okay. If you I don't know what that did. Okay. Basically, if you go back over here, you need to always double check. Look over here. Do they have a high school equivalency or post-secondary? No, they don't have any MSG. So they do not have an MSG there. Okay. So far we have 1 person, 2 persons. Oh, look up here. What happened to this person up here? This is student 2. Student 2 is the one that did not take a post-test. But will the student count positive for us without a post-test? The student right here, they did not post-test. But what happened on over here? They made a what? Look up here.
They got their HSE.
They got their HSE. So because they got their HSE, even though we didn't post-test them, we get a hooray. We get you made it, that student post-tested. So that's going to count. So I will tell you there's 8 students on this list right now on your class list. Okay, now you have that 1 student who's coming that's got 0 hours, and they may, they may come and be on that list tomorrow. You don't know. But if you have 8 students, how many students have met an MSG? We have 1 student here who met an MSG with a high school equivalency. We have a student here who met in 2 ways, met an MSG, right? And then you have here a student who met because they gained an NRS level. So we had a total of 1, 2, 3 students made MSGs. So we had 3 students out of 8 who have done their MSGs. Tell me, what is the percentage there? 3 out of 8. Who has their calculator up? It's not one, I had to do it on a calculator because it's not an easy 10.
37.5%.
37.5%. So what are we trying to get to?
At least
Around
44.1.
44. And like Michelle was saying, we only need to get 60% of the 44%. So this teacher has actually met enough. This teacher is contributing to program performance because the teacher is above the minimal threshold to get what's called the performance-based funding that comes in March. However, they're not up to 44% yet. So what should that teacher do now to get to 44%? What would you do if you were this teacher? Look at these students. I don't understand personally, but okay. Look at this.
If I was
okay,
this teacher, if I was this teacher, I'd be looking at the hours, anyone 70 hours or more, I'd be doing the CASAS test with them.
Right. So look at this student in reading, 175 hours. 175 hours, guys. Okay, now this student's only 50, so I probably would leave that alone. Do you know what the minimum is for CASAS? What's the minimum to post-test?
The instructor's manual, the publisher's manual says 70. However, TWC says 40.
40.
So when we
yes,
spoke with Dr. Rose, she encouraged us to test at 40.
I would test
Okay,
them before March at 40.
I just want to clarify that is actually from CASAS.
Yeah,
CASAS actually says 70 to 100 recommended 40-hour minimum.
minimum, yes. And it is in, I have taken, there's a screenshot I have on this PowerPoint taken directly from the TWC AEL performance guide and assessment guide. And that is correct. So you can test them with no penalties at 40 hours. So even though this student, if I'm coming up to perform, no, because this teacher's already met it, maybe I'd wait on that student. But if I'm in your classroom and you're like, oh, I haven't met any of them, none of my students have met it. If you feel that student, especially if you feel that student is doing better in one subject than the other, maybe test them on one subject, okay? If you feel that they're making progress. You don't, it's kind of a, this is the thing, when do you test? When should you test? And we're going to talk about a little bit more too. We're going to look not just at their hours, but let's see what their levels are and how far they are from the next level. Because remember, these levels are ranges. Look at the next student down. 115 hours in both for reading and math. Would you test them? I think I would, regardless of where their level is, okay? I think that's a lot of hours. In fact, doesn't CASAS recommend 70 to 100? They recommend testing at 100 hours. And so this student and this student have not been tested. So there's 1, 2 students that have over the recommended 100. Now the rest of the students, this person at the top had dropped out, right? They're gone. Okay. So definitely as a teacher, you would want to go through and say, hey, let's go ahead and test some of these students. They need to get tested. Okay. I'm going to go back now. What I want to go through is how do you decide when to test? You guys are welcome to look at this and kind of think about it, but it's, and I do have a little answer sheet for it that I made up, but it's, if you have a question, ask me. If there's something that didn't make sense. I tried to kind of keep it pretty simple where you can see if they made a a skills gain or not, right? And then you divide how many is there, 3 in this case, by the total number, 8. That's your percentage. Now, unfortunately, they don't do that part for you. You got to do the math yourself. Okay. I'm not going to go, we just did this together instead of on your own. So I'm not going to look at the answer sheet right now, but it is there for you. Okay. And I'll share this PowerPoint with you. Okay. This is the thing I think is really important. When do you test students? And Glenda is really big on this. And I used to be with, also, y'all don't use the Best Literacy and Best Plus, but that's what we used. We were really, really careful with it. I put it on here because I wasn't sure what you used. But on CASAs, the minimum required is 40 hours. And if you'll look here, if y'all ever want to go to that page, I have the URL down here, so you can go to it and read all about it. It's just a lot of fun, okay? Read all about all of the, can't get that out of the way, but anyhow, this page 37 from the manual, okay? 70 hours minimum and 100 hours maximum is what they recommend, okay? A lot of your students probably are over 40 hours if they started in September, October, and they may be ready for testing. Another question comes up sometimes. Can you test a student early? It is not encouraged to test students early. However, there's 2 reasons you would test them early. If you know they are leaving to a situation where they cannot be in a remote class or continue in any way in their instruction, maybe they're very ill, I don't know, but some reason, right, like that, you could document that and also look at their progress and see if you can justify that you think they could make a gain, okay? I will be very honest, and Glenda has the same experience. We used to do the best testing at 40 hours for years, and a lot of students made gains at 40 hours. Then the publisher came and said 60 hours. And so we had to wait till 60. But a lot of students on that test make gains at 40, especially 50, unless they're beginners. Okay. On the CASAs, I don't, at ACC, I do work with the students, but I have not seen it long enough to see trends. Glenda, can you speak to any trends that you see? If you're still on, I don't know if she's still on. They passing at 40 hours?
I think in our last meeting, she said that like high beginning students, it'll take longer. They have a lot more to learn.
Yep.
I just think that's what she mentioned in our last meeting.
I think it's true. The lower level students will take more time, especially with reading. Okay. Now math is just a bugaboo. You've got to know the student. Some students have a math phobia, or they just never, some students just don't get math. I mean, I've taught enough that there's just some students, they just don't get it. And so it's really hard for them. Other students, they've been out of school and they just don't use it, and they come back and they don't do well on a pretest. But you see them in class and they're like, I remember this, and they catch up, right? So you are going to be a really good judge if you think they're going to make progress in math or not. But on reading, anything to do with language, I don't know if you'll know this, but it takes longer to make progress in reading. It's more holistic and global. So for those beginning students, they're working on vocabulary and fluency. It's going to take them longer. So you may not want to do 40 hours if they're at the lower level, but if it's a more advanced student and you've been working with them and they're getting it right, you can go ahead and try to test them, okay, at the 40 hours. If Michelle is okay with that. You do what your program director says, but we always test at ACC at 40 hours or less sometimes, okay? We just test every 8 weeks, which probably is too much, but you know, they got a machine going. It's a big district and they got a machine. Okay. So now I want to show you, these are where you got to look at the scores. Do you see these? Y'all probably don't have very many beginning ABE literacy students. They're not that common. That student is going to take longer, much longer. They're learning how to read, guys, okay? Okay. Beginning basic might take longer. But once you get up to those higher levels, especially if students have just not been in school for a while, some of the older students, they need to catch up, but once they start catching up, they can do well. So you're going to look at their scores and you're going to say, I have a student with 40 hours. They're high intermediate. Look at that. They're reading. That's my first chart here. Let's say they have a 235. What do you think about testing them at 44 hours if they had a 235 in high intermediate? They just need 3 points. Do you see that? I think, and they've been coming to class. They're showing, I'm not, I think I would feel comfortable testing that student at 40 rather than waiting till 70. But if they were 228 and they're struggling in class and don't come that often, I would hold off. You don't want to over test. You always can test them again, but how many students want to keep taking a test over and over again? They get tired of it. Same thing with math. Look at the math levels. So you're going to be looking at where are they in that range. If they're a 224 and had to go up 1 point, first of all, you guys know assessment. How close are these? You know the accuracy of these? This is, don't let me scare you, but I did my research on the TABE, how accurate those scores are and how accurate the TSI is to each other. They're not very accurate. They're accurate as far as students who do good on the TSI do well on the TABE. And it kind of follows. But as far as placement into levels, the accuracy, even for the TABE, over 2 forms of the TABE is only about 60% accuracy. 60%. That's why some of this, I just think it's just a bunch of baloney in the end, because these scores, it's just that day. If they had made 1 more point, they'd be in a whole different level. Now, going up 2 levels, I could see, a difference, right? So I would be, you got to look, 40 hours is probably definitely enough for some students if they're really high at that level and you can see that they're making progress in class. Okay. I want to show you this. The only one, this is the NRS, and I'm not going to, this is why the NRS was crazy for Best Plus and Best Literacy. I'm glad you're not using it. That's what we use at ACC. Do you see these ranges though? Do you see how beginning ESL literacy is 0 to 20? So if a student has a 0, do you know it takes them about 100 hours to get up to a 21? So that's where looking at these, if you have test scores that range like these, you have to be real careful when you decide to test students. But y'all, with the CASAs, it's much more consistent. It's a better scaled test. So I'm glad you're using it. So how far is the next level up? I wanted y'all to think about this. We'll go back, but student 5 in reading, he was a 2.0, that person was a 207, okay, on reading. Let's go to my CASAS chart and look at the 207. 207 for reading, is it at the beginning or the end? Is it the bottom or the top of the level?
Beginning.
It's at the beginning, 207. That student probably won't make progress at 40 or 50 hours. That student probably needs at least 70 hours. But how many hours did that student have? Do y'all remember? It was amazingly a lot. I'll show you this one. I'll just pull it up here. I think I have a picture. That student's hours for reading were 175. Do you think that student has enough hours to show gain? With 175 hours, even though they're on the low side, I think that student would be ready to test. I would say yes, let's try to test them, okay? Because if we don't test them and they stop coming, what happens? We don't post-toss test them and they stop.
It'll go against our grant.
It goes against your grant. It goes against your program performance. So you have to make that fine decision about over testing or not testing. And you as a teacher, you're in the best position actually to judge if the student's kind of ready to be tested or not. So that's another really cool thing about your program, that you guys do the assessment yourselves too. ACC, it's a machine, it's everybody has their role, but the teacher doesn't decide when the student takes the test at all, right? So it's a little bit separated, and you guys are very holistic, and you can make that decision and really work with your students and their performance. Let's take another one. Let's look at the last student. Let's look at their math and reading because they're real close. Student number 8 had a 231 and a 230. So just remember 230, that's close enough, right? Now, remember the scales are different. So let's go back to the scales up here. So for reading, a 230 is at the bottom of high intermediate. You see that? But a 230 is right smack dab in the middle of high intermediate. How many hours though did the student have? I'm kind of like, don't understand why they don't test these students, because I would be like freaking out if they hadn't been tested with this many hours. Let's see how many they had. I got to move my little box here. Let me see if I can move. I'm going to move my video, hide video panel. Okay, so if you see this student here, this is the last one. Oh, they have 199.25 hours. Do you think we can test them?
Definitely.
Definitely. Now, the one that's interesting is the 49.75. So just remember that student number 6 right there was a 49.75. They're low intermediate ABE in both math and reading, and they only have basically 50 hours, right? So let's decide on this student, what we were gonna, if we were gonna wait. We looked at one of them before, I think, but not at both. So let's go back. Let's go see the student over here. Okay. Well, let's look here. So they were 49.5 hours, student 5. Oh, their math was under, no, it must have been student 6. So just say reading is 222 and math is 205, okay? Reading is 222 and math is 205. They have 50 hours in both. So let's go look at the chart, 222 and 205. 222 is right in the middle of low intermediate. 205 is way at the bottom of math. So that person, I would wait till 70 hours if I already had students with that many hours that I could already test. Now, let's say you're at 0% and the student who has the most hours in your class is 49.5. That was your best, most hours of student. You might want to test them before March, even though they might not make progress. They might make progress because money is on the line for your program performance. So do you see how you kind of have to weigh how as a program? Again, you only know your own class. Michelle, do they know overall the program, where you are in different levels and overall of how they contribute to that? I don't know if Michelle, she might, because she already knows all this. She may not be with us.
She had to step away for just a moment.
Okay. But how about you guys? Do you know where your program is right now, percent wise?
I do not know our program, but I somewhat know my class. I've looked up all their CASA scores of past tests. So I kind of know where my students are sitting right now and what I really need to do. I know which students need a lot of help with listening, and I know which ones that need a lot of help with reading to get them to the next.
Excellent. So you know, and you know who you need to test before March, or you need to try to test, right? And get them progress tested before the March, pretty soon, like now, like in February. You want to start testing in February. How about one of the things that probably is important is for, and y'all might want to ask, and Anna, you're on the line, or is Anna on the line? Because I know you're the newly hired, is it, I don't know if it's coordinator, supervisor, I'm not sure of the title, right?
Coordinator, yes.
Coordinator. So you probably are going to deal a lot with this kind of stuff, right? You might want to ask Michelle about how the program's doing as a whole. What is the percentage? Remember, it's 60% of 44%, which, do the math, it's, I don't know, 28%, something like that. Is it 30%? Okay, that would be a little less than a third of your students. So if every teacher tries to get about a third of their students with either a GED or much easier actually to get a to get a gain, on their test, one of their tests, not both, just one of them, reading or math, or for ESL, they just take the reading, right? And listening. You guys will make that performance and you'll get extra money. So it's, I hate it that it's so boiled down to, you know, dimes and nickels, but it is. So you have to make decisions about, okay, they're 40 hours. I'm not sure if they're going to make a gain or not, but at this point, money is on the line and they could make a gain. That's the thing. 40 hours is the minimum. So you are totally justified if you're program director and as a supervisor, if you say we can test them at 40, I will tell you most programs do test at 40. Just an ACC is a very high performing program and it tests at 40, but that's not the only reason they're high performing, but it is one of the reasons, okay, is because of it's the testing and the assessment that is so important to show that your students are gaining. And this particular class I pulled up is not directly an ACC class. I will tell you, it's one of the providers. If these students were at ACC, all of them would have already been tested, probably even the 49.5. And I bet you the performance would be higher at this point, even than whatever it was, 37.5%. Just because of the more aggressive testing policy that they have in place. Finding the balance for your program and what works is up to you guys, right? Everybody is going to have a different, you know, philosophy and everything for testing. But I just hope that this has kind of shown people that, hi, Michelle, you're back. I was talking about, do the teachers know right now what your program's at and where they need to get to? I was saying it probably needs to be about 30% for each class. By March, overall as a program, you need about 30%, right? To get the performance-based funding.
Yes, and so honestly, we always just shoot high and just say 70. I don't think I've ever really told them the actual number. I always
Okay.
just say 70, so we
You
can
want them to get 70%, okay.
so that we shoot high and we
Yeah.
we have
Okay.
increase our chances of
Right. Well, if every teacher could get even, well, for March, try to get 40%, you're going to get your but not all. And you guys, if you teach high beginning or lower, if you teach the lower levels of classes, I will just say that traditionally it takes them longer to show progress. Okay. A lot of times your literacy is linked to your income and your health, right? You find that students at lower literacy levels, often in English, especially in ESL, I can't tell you as much in HSE because I don't have years and years and years working with that population like I do with ESL. But we found that it is the lower, they just have more issues. When their car breaks down, they just don't have transportation. They don't have money to get it fixed. Then they lose their job because they can't get to work, right? Everything snowballs and they drop out of school immediately because that's going to be the least of their worries when they don't have food on the table. So I think your low literacy, you have to look at that too as a program. It may be harder for teachers that are working with lower levels to get those gains, but that makes it so important for teachers who have the upper levels to make sure their students are getting gains. So it all balances out for your program as a whole to get the performance that they need. Okay. So, and I would, anybody was here last year? I know a lot of y'all are new teachers, right? Was anybody here last year, Michelle?
Yeah.
No.
was.
Okay. That's kind of
I
cool.
was.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were. Okay.
And you can tell because Kristen, she can speak very fluidly about
Yes,
the
teams.
MSG report, and she utilizes it really well and effectively as well.
Yes, and I was good to tell Kristen, it would be interesting to pull up your report from last year, right? Have you done that and see how you did last year? So in-house, now that you have this teacher there, that it seems like that she was talking about using this report. I would really like everyone to start using this report. Immediately go and run this report. If you haven't gotten Teams training of how to get into Teams, run this report. The other thing I wanted to tell you about that I really think you should use to find the problem with this report. I like this report a lot, but it doesn't tell you the student test scores. How do you use Teams quickly to get all of your students' test scores? Anybody have a real secret way to do that? Michelle, have you found a good way? There used to be a participant with latest assessments report that doesn't work anymore. It's defunct. Teachers need to see the test scores. Okay.
It has in the and I would probably default to either Kian or Eva, but I believe they're using the CASAS. Is it CASAS? It's something from CASAS that they can get into.
Oh,
The-
excellent.
The
Okay.
TOPS
Go
Pro
into
software.
TOPS Pros.
Oh, good. Okay, so you don't have good, thank goodness, because using Teams to get the data is a pain. Okay, I can do it very quickly by going into classes, clicking on my class, and there is a link to each participant. And then I do what, I do a right click, open a new tab for every participant in the class. And then I can go to the educational, the pre and post test for each student, but definitely use the Top Pro from CASAS, because that is, and if you don't know how to use that yet, find a way to find out how to do that. Okay. There's so much training. You wouldn't think this would be this much training necessary for adult education, but I think it's more than, really almost more than, definitely more than post-secondary, because I've been in post-secondary also. Yeah.
Dr. Guckert, real quick, I want to just ask Keegan, we normally do this at our annual summer training. We go over how to run the reports and all of that. We probably need to do a much better job at probably reviewing it probably every quarter and then asking people as they need help. But Keegan, can you tell me real quick, we do have a how-to on how to do the CASAS report in TOPS Pro?
Yes, so in the Career Ready U hub, there is a link on how to install TOPS Pro on your local computer, and then how to run those reports as well. And there's multiple reports that you have access to TOPS Pro. Not only do you have access to their scale score reports, but you also have access to the competency reports and the content standard reports as well for the student.
Well, that is great, because what you could do, that just gives you two tools to quickly give you everything you need to monitor your performance. If you're using the MSG extract, remember it's the extract detailed report. With that, you use your CASAS reporting, and you can get everything that you need to track your performance. Of course, does every teacher know how to put in their own data? Are you putting in your hours and everything and test scores? I know that that's a part of it, and that has to be done timely, right? Because Teams is, I always tell people, Teams is only good as the the data in it, right? And I know that, yeah.
Dr. Guckert, are you asking, do the instructors enter their data?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure who enters their data there.
Yeah, our data specialists enter the data.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you have data specialists, so the teachers get it to the data. And every program has a different way. So what's your usually delay time? Is it about a couple of weeks?
No, so instructional staff are required, well, the CASAS scores are entered within a 24 to 48 hour period. CASAS
Excellent.
scores. The contact hours, they're entered so they are required to turn them in, submit them by Friday 12, and they're entered by Wednesday the following week.
Ooh, okay, so the biggest lap you would have would 9 or 10 days. That's excellent. Okay, I think TWC originally required it monthly, and I think they've gone down to bi-weekly. Technology is changing. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 14. You have to have the data in within 14
Yeah, it's
days.
14 days now. Technology has changed the way we can do that. In the old days, people had to hand carry. I mean, I've been around a long time in adult ed, so it was much harder to get the data in quickly, but this is fantastic. So you guys are on the way. I mean, you've got all the tools that you need. If you'll go to your chat, I put in the answer sheet for our activity that you can pull up and study, okay, if you like. So go to the chat and it says Amarillo Session 2 MSG ... If you click on that, it will open a Word document that you can download to your computer. And that's that activity that we did together. That you can, especially if you're not familiar with the MSG report. I know some of you were, but for those of you who are not, I think that, having that and being able to go through it again and look at it more carefully, where you'll be able to see it better, right, on your own screen. I think that will help you. And then you got access to Teams, go in and run it and look at your class. I really, really want, that's your homework, actually. If you haven't done that report, your homework is to do that report and look at your class and see how you're doing and figure out which students, where they are, and if they should be tested soon. Like, it's coming up. See if anybody's ready to get tested, get them tested. Do you have any questions? Because I think we've gone over everything that I really wanted to cover today. I think these are the main information that we need to do well on tracking your performance.
I just have one comment, and that is our 8-week session just started. So like yesterday, like the MSG report, our new classes aren't there yet. So probably next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Your homework is to wait till the people are in. Yeah, you're right. Do you guys have some students that you keep though, right, as well? I know you have students coming in and out, but hopefully some of them will stay in and you'll have the hours that they need. Basically, that was all I had today, but if you have questions, I know we're scheduled to 12. It's a little bit early, but we can take any questions or comments, concerns, problems, or complaints. I know you couldn't see everything on the screen. That's a complaint, but hopefully now that you have the actual material, you can print it out. Even if you have a printer, that would be wonderful. It prints out pretty well.
I'm shocked. No question.
No questions. Well, those of you that need to get, I know a couple of teachers they're new and you haven't had time to get into this. So the good news that I see a lot of strength in your program, that you have teachers and staff who are very familiar with Teams, and you have the resources there locally to get the help that you need and to do what you need to do and it's basically all about this. Good instruction, obviously. We'll have more. We started with all these MSGs, but we are going to have more PD, especially on ESL. If you're an ESL teacher, we'll have some stuff for that on, just engagement and things like that have to do more with instruction. Today was a little bit kind of, it wasn't a fun teaching type of session where you get strategies to use much with your students, but hopefully this will help you be really a strong performer as far as a teacher when it gets on paper.
Before we close out, I'd like to just real quickly, for those of you who are on the call, and I'll probably send it in a Google form just so I can collect the data better, but I'm going to send an email out that will have a quick survey just to see how many of you are actually, first of all, have access. This is something that is in our onboarding, that we have you create or do all the things to request access to Teams. You have to complete the FERPA, the cybersecurity, and it's one more document. The P41. You have to complete all 4 of those, and then you request access to Teams. I think I have one that they've sent me that tells me who all has completed that, and then they send me an email asking me to sign off on that. So I am going to probably, just to get a real quick data from everyone, is to just tell me who actually has access and who has access to, who has even run a CASAS, MSG report. I'd like to know that. Yeah, I'd like to know that from each of you personally. So
yeah, I mean, that's where it's all going to start. And once everybody's doing, like you said, Christine's doing, because she's been on, it's something when you first walk in the door, you're not going to know it, but it's really going to help you. So at the end of the year, you're going to look back and you've done a great instruction, but now you can show it with Teams. Okay, with your accountability. Okay, well, thanks everybody so much. Michelle, let me know if you need anything. I will send you the PowerPoint later if you need for your files, or you can distribute it later, but everyone does have the activity now that they downloaded, and I'll send it as well.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you. It was a lovely training. Very, very informative. And so I'm hoping everyone appreciated it and can utilize it now. And we will be getting with you so that we can set up the times that we can start the trainings with Anna.
Yes, I'm excited to work with Anna because I got to meet her today. That was great. Okay, we have a lot of similar background too, I can tell. So, okay, well, bye everyone. You'll have a wonderful day and a good start to your new 8-week section.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Michelle, do you have anything else for me or Denise before I head out?
No, I don't. I appreciate both of you. This is really good. I appreciate that you both are being so thoughtful in the training. I know that, well, I'll hold real quick. Martha, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming. You can just exit out, Martha.
You think she's there? Sometimes they don't. You want me to?
Yes, I'm always here.
Oh, okay. You're always there. I'm like, sometimes people just forget they don't exit. I've had that happen.
Well, I'm waiting to make sure it's over because we still have 15 more minutes.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, ma'am. It's
We
over.
just finished a little early. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you mind stop sharing the screen? Stop the share.
Yeah.
Denise.
Got it.
Yeah. So the vast majority of our team, I would probably say 60% are new.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty much new. And they have probably started because we had a huge loss in August. So it was right after our summer training. We have our summer training every year in July. So they quit. We had a lot of them quit because that ESSER grant that's here in Texas. So they're giving them $50 an hour versus $20 an hour FPK. So a lot of our staff left to go and teach for the school district, the ISDs. So we have not had and it's just been crazy because we've been shorthanded, people having to do all kinds of things. So this is very timely and very, very much so needed. I think one lady said in the last one, Dr. Rose, that she's heard it before, but it was the first time she heard it and she understood. She was brand new.
Yeah.
And that was in the summer training. And it is like a fire hydrant being blown at you, this information. It's a lot.
I tell you what, for as much as it gets the stuff we have to do, because I've worked all 3 systems. I know K-12 is a lot, but you get a lot more money to do it. You know what I mean? Like, we get nothing per student and we have to do, it's more accountability than any other program. I think it's just kind of nutty, but we want to help our students. The whole is we want to help the students. That's the whole point. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Regardless.
So I feel like these are really good trainings. I think that the first one was excellent. This one was excellent. So I think this is really, really good. And I'm absolutely appreciative of it. So just wanted to share that with the board.
Thank you. Yeah.
The next one you wanted to do?
I think the next one is something very specific to ESL. Yeah, I think the next one is very specific to ESL. I'm based off of me even thinking about how my program has transitioned this year, knowing that I lost so many and that the newcomers really haven't gotten to get all of this. Like we have an onboarding and it's all kind of just by yourself working through the stuff because we don't have anyone to actually work through it with them. I almost wonder if we need to do maybe a couple of more trainings on just compliance.
I think so, because a lot of people weren't here, especially your new staff, right? Glenda, what do you think?
I'm thinking if the next one is for ESL specifically, we can weave some of the compliance stuff into the ESL. Like the requirements that you have to include some civics, or you have to include some workforce training. Depending on what kind of classes they are. Now, are you doing leveled ESL classes or are they multi-level?
usually in the past, they've been level. But because we lost so many instructors, and we're still in the process of just hiring folks.
Mhm.
We do sometimes have to do multi-level.
Okay, so what I was, and even a regular leveled class is multi-level. So
Yeah.
I noticed with my teachers that especially my teachers who haven't really done adult education for very long, they are needing multi-level instruction. Because what happens if you don't have good multi-level skills, you lose students. So you're either the higher students feel like they're being ignored or the lower students feel like everybody's ahead of them. And so it takes, and I was telling one of my teachers who was kind of freaking out, said it's kind of like riding a bike. It's a skill and you might fall off the bike a couple of times when you're getting started. But once you get it, once you know how to manage that multi-level classroom, then it's really not that big of a deal. So I'm thinking that might be, you know, talking about maybe not specifically multi-level on the next one, but engagement strategies for the whole class to make sure that students feel like